I have discussed for you guys many times that I hate the draft. All right, I hate the draft. I hate the draft. I hate draft coverage. Like the draft itself, like there can be some intrigue to that, but coverage of the draft, I hate the draft. I turn into Sam I Am. It's a green eggs and ham situation with the draft, boy. Whoo, I can't stand it, right? And there's so many different reasons I can't stand it, and it's all the anonymous scouts and this and that, and the fictitious notion of draft stock, even though it's not really a stock price because the stock isn't for sale. I mean, there's zillions of things that I don't like about the draft. But I saw something today that just made me want to put my head through a wall. They just totally put my head through a wall. And I feel like I figured it out, right? Did you know that, like, it hasn't been, I don't think, officially submitted to the committee. It hasn't been approved in the trademark office or anything like that. But I feel like I have stumbled upon what is the new racial slur, right? So you know how people talk about folks like to slide thug in there, and thug has become like the modern proxy for the so-called dreaded N-word, right? I feel like we've slipped another slur in here, right? Like, I don't know what this slur is a proxy for necessarily, but when it comes to draft time, you're going to hear a racial slur come up from time to time, depending on who the player is, and that slur is Jamarcus Russell. Like, Jamarcus Russell's name has basically, as it relates to comparing to quarterbacks, has pretty much become a racial slur, right? We're afraid you'll be Jamarcus Russell. We're afraid you'll get fat and be lazy and be stupid, right? Those are the things you associate with Jamarcus Russell, right? Those are the things that you think about. I'm not saying those things are or are not true about Jamarcus Russell. I'm just asking you to square up with me right now, right? Those are the things you think about with Jamarcus Russell. Guys, you notice that, like, the downside of any quarterback who's, like, big, strong, and black is, well, you never know if he's going to wind up being Jamarcus Russell, right? So Cam Newton went through that so many times, right? Hey, you know, he could wind up being like Jamarcus Russell. Like, that is the floor on every black quarterback. I ask you a serious question. When's the last time you heard somebody say they were afraid a white quarterback would turn out to be Jamarcus Russell? Anybody? You got anything? Because I don't think I've ever heard it. I don't think I've ever heard it. I bring that up because Bob McKinn of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, he put out a column today, or a report, however you want to put it. And Bob's been doing this job forever, and he talks to all kinds of people and all of this. And this is what he came back with after talking to scouts and executives about Jameis Winston. One longtime executive in personnel. With Jameis Winston, I see Jamarcus Russell. They do dumb things. Isn't it interesting? No. Like, how the hell is that interesting? How does that make any sense? You tell me right now how that makes, like, that's all you got? Now, the executive might read this and say, well, I actually told him a whole lot more in the conversation. That's fine. Okay, well, let's talk. Like, this is what we got presented before us to read. How does that make any sense, right? So here's another guy comparing Jameis to Jamarcus Russell. Lack of focus by Jamarcus is what I see in Winston. They're physically talented, but during the course of a game, they kind of lose their focus and just put the ball up for grabs. I see the body. I see the lack of focus. I see the same coaching system. Only Winston's not as good an athlete and his arm isn't as strong as Jamarcus. Hey, man, do you know who else is physically talented but during the course of games kind of loses focus and puts the ball up for grabs? Andrew Luck. Like, even the most ardent Andrew Luck supporter would acknowledge that, right? Ain't nobody calling him no damn Jamarcus Russell in any circumstance, right? So let's keep going. Let's keep going. In this same report from Bob McGinn of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, another scout brought it back to Russell, saying, he's got that same smile that Jamarcus did. They light up the room. That's what Jameis seems to be doing. Damn, you're telling me that Jamarcus Russell and Jameis Winston are the only two people to ever go into a room and smile? Like, what are you talking about? How does that hold, right? Like, how does that make any sense? And so McGinn's done this poll, and he talks to all these guys, and 4 of them think that Winston could be a disappointment against 1 for Mariota. 8 think Mariota's a starter against 5 for Winston. 8 think Mariota makes a Pro Bowl, 6 for Winston. 1 thinks Mariota's an all-time great, none for Winston. 1 thinks Mariota's a bust, 4 for Winston. Now, all those things may be true. All of them might be straight. I have no idea. I don't view these things in a sophisticated enough way to really tell you what quarterback you should or should not take. I'll just tell you this doesn't sound anything like what we've been hearing the majority of this time, right? I'll tell you that, number one. Number two, and this is a part that I think gets lost in all this draft coverage when all these guys decide to write this stuff and just parrot the quotes that they get from scouts. Who do you think it was back in the day who was given all the reasons why you shouldn't take a black quarterback? It was the scouts, right? Like, this idea that someone is a scout, their opinions matter because they're scouts, because certainly they're the ones talking to the teams, and they probably have more of an effect than anything anybody else has to say, right? Like, I get that. But at the same time, you keep parroting these things these scouts say. Just because a scout says something doesn't mean you need to put it in the newspaper. You need to run it anywhere, right? So at some point in all this draft coverage, every time a black quarterback comes out and somebody wants to compare him to Jamarcus Russell, might you want to get your head out of your behind and stop and think, damn, why does this only happen here? Right? Like, how does this always happen here? Zach Mettenberger went to LSU. Zach Mettenberger has a cannon for an arm. Zach Mettenberger failed a drug test at the combine. Zach Mettenberger, by the way, got put out at Georgia behind a sexual battery charge. You tell me the last time you heard, and I don't remember if I said this part, but he went to LSU, okay? You tell me the last time you heard somebody compare Zach Mettenberger to Jamarcus Russell. Let me know. Why not? Why not? It's all right there. Why not? All right? Now we fast forward to this year, and Zach Mettenberger, who failed the drug test at the combine and wasn't that good when he played last year, you got all these guys coming up, getting on the radio and stuff, talking about how they take Mettenberger over Jameis Winston. How does this work? How do all these things work? Like, how can you not listen to the madness that goes on and not just want to put your head through a wall? Right? There is no comparison between Jameis Winston and Jamarcus Russell. Like, Jameis Winston takes his Wonderlic and the score is just about like Peyton Manning's, but nobody wants to go there. See, that's the comparison I've been making for a while. Not that athletic, highly cerebral, a little bit too cocky about what their brains and arms can do on the field at times. And Peyton got older and got better about that, but we saw young Peyton throw a lot of interceptions. A lot of that is Jameis Winston. They're so close. They're so similar. Nobody will say that out loud. Very few people want to come out and say that out loud. But you got somebody who can find a line full of people to compare Jameis Winston to Jamarcus Russell when they don't appear to have a damn thing in common other than being big and being black. And why are they being compared? Because the racial slur of the quarterback season is Jamarcus Russell. We're afraid he's going to be big, fat, dumb, and lazy. And if you're using something as a proxy for those things, tell me how that isn't a racial slur.